Good morning. I'm Meredith Barber, and I'm the minister here at Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. We're so glad to have you with us today, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your journey, you are welcome here among us. So today's service is a celebration of love of all kinds, and in keeping with that, we wanted to let you know that there are poinsettias in the lobby, and you're welcome to take one home. It's our way of showing love to all of you. This morning, our call to worship comes from the Reverend Erica Hewitt. This is called "We Speak the Language of Love." We arrive from many different experiences and backgrounds. Some of us have trouble speaking. Others are so young that they're still learning to talk. Some of us speak English as a second language, and others of us can speak several foreign languages. But all of us share this in common. We speak the language of love. In the moments before worship begins, and again when we return to the service of life, we greet one another with kind words. We chat about the days behind us and days to come, and we speak the language of love. We form a web of compassionate listening when individuals among us, embodying vulnerability, name the fears that grip their hearts, the joys that buoy their spirits. We speak the language of love. At times, our voices clash. We disagree. Tension enters our voices as we make room for different beliefs, different opinions, different perspectives. Through it all, it's our intention that we speak the language of love. In this congregation, we welcome a multiplicity of truths and invite them to be named out loud. We prophesy, summoning the age when justice and peace will be evident all around us, and we speak the language of love. Let us worship together, making room for one another as whole beings, tender hearts, hungry spirits, and curious minds. With our actions and with our words, let us speak the language of love. Now let us worship together. We light our chalice this morning in love, today and every day, in love for one another, in love for ourselves, and in recognition of the love that holds each of us. I invite you now to join in saying together the words of our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. And now let us hum along or listen to our opening hymn, Let Love Continue Long.
Let love continue long and show to us the way, and if that love be strong, no hurt can have a say, and if that love remain but strong, no hurt can ever have a say. not abound, a common faith will fail. When human love does not abound, a common faith will always fail. If we in love unite, debate can cause no strife, for with this love incite disputes enrich our life. For with this bond of human love, disputes can mean a richer life. May love continue long and lead us on our way. For if that love be strong, no hurt can have a say. For if that love remain but strong, no hurt can ever have a say.
That was beautiful. So we come now to this time in our service where we collect our offering. And this morning, as we take up the offering, help us to remember that love also is about caring for our community. The offering to support the ministries of this church will now be lovingly given and received. Our first reading comes to us from a group called Enfleshed, and this is a group which creates and facilitates spiritual resources for collective liberation. I'm switching up the readings, I'm sorry. This is called Love. Love cannot be bought or sold. It does not make a profit. Love does not hide from truth. Love dives deep. Love takes on flesh. Love is queer. Love is platonic. Love is erotic. Love is asexual. Love confronts evil. Love delights in pleasure. Love touches and weeps and flirts and feeds and creates. Love is risky. Love challenges systemic evil in all its forms. Love is simple, but not easy. Love is collective. Love rises up. Love apologizes. Love believes. Love corrects. Love holds accountable. Love pays reparations. Love heals. Love tells its story. Love embraces everyone, every creature, every creation. It knows us intimately. It holds us collectively. Love transcends every boundary that seeks to confine it. It will not tolerate violence in its name. It does no harm. It only sets free. Here ends the reading. We come now to the time in our service for prayer, for silence, for our sung response. We'll share some silence together, hear the joys and sorrows of our community, and then have a spoken prayer, followed by our responsive hymn, Spirit of Life. I invite you to join me now in a moment of silence. We have both a joy and a sorrow to share this morning. Pam shares with us joy at her 15-year-old cat Bella returning after being gone for a month. She's doing well. But Pam also shares sorrow at the death of Carol Riddle, a former member of Horizon. But Pam appreciates her friendship that she had for many years. We hold this and all the other joys and sorrows unspoken in our hearts. Loving God, Spirit of life, mystery in which we live and move and have our being, draw near to us this morning and hear our prayers. We gather this morning a people seeking love, seeking connection, seeking meaning, seeking something we cannot even name. For all of us, seeking and searching and wondering, help us to know that we are never alone. Ours, this living tradition, does not offer answers always and certainty almost never. But of one thing we are sure. No matter what, across time and death and the space between the stars, love remains. Whether here or calling to us from some other place, across loss and distance and across the dinner table and the laundry basket, love remains. Across the sanctuary, across the computer screen, across the phone line, across the world, love remains. We know that we are never alone, no matter what we face, what the outcome, our hope, our comfort, our certainty comes from the fact that we will not face it alone. And this morning, as you let the weights of the week and the world melt away from your body and your mind and your heart, notice where love is leading you. Where do you feel that magnetic pull, that inner tug? Follow it, honor it. Spirit, as we continue to face an uncertain world, a world on the brink of so many things, a world in which violence reigns, a world in which profit seems to matter more than humanity, help us to remember that our foundation here is love, and it will always guide us. May it be so. Amen. I invite us now to hum along to or listen to our responsive hymn, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Okay, now it's actually time for this reading. Our second reading today is an excerpt from Bell Hooks' All About Love. She writes, "For many of us, church was the place where we first heard a counter-narrative of love, one that differed from the confused messages about love learned in dysfunctional families. The mystical dimensions of Christian faith, the belief that we are all one, that love is all, presented to me as a child in the church were the space of redemption. At church, I learned not only to understand that God is love, I learned also that children were special in the heart and mind of divine spirit. Dreaming of becoming a writer, valuing the life of the mind above all things, it was especially awesome to learn by heart passages from 1 Corinthians, the love chapter. From childhood on, I have often reflected on the passage that proclaims, 'If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing.' Throughout my graduate school years, as I worked to finish my doctorate, striving to maintain a commitment to spiritual life in a world that did not value the spiritual, I returned to these lessons about the primacy of love. The wisdom they convey kept me from hardening my heart. Remaining open to love was crucial to my academic survival. When the environment you live in and know most intimately does not place value on loving, a spiritual life provides a place of solace and renewal." So finally, after a couple months of swatch testing and general procrastination, Kyle and I painted our dining room red right before Christmas. He has been asking me to do this for a very long time, so we finally did. And then a few weeks later, I found a chain of these plush felt hearts, and I hung it across the arched entryway to the dining room. He came in and was like, "Are these Valentine's decorations? Do we decorate for Valentine's Day now?" And I said, "No, we're just leaving them here. They're forever. They're forever decorations." And he just laughed and accepted me because that's what love does. So tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and throughout the years, I've gone back and forth on the way I feel about this day. It's not really a big holiday or a particularly religious one, at least on the surface. Some say, of course, that it's a Hallmark holiday, and that's true in some ways. As usual, the powers that be would have us believe that buying things is the only way to show love. Of course, that's never been true, and this same treatment has been applied to so many other parts of our lives. It's also true that this holiday dedicated to celebrating love can be alienating to those who are single or who are mourning the loss of a partner, who are in the middle of a divorce, or who are struggling in their current relationship. It can feel like everyone else's relationship is happy and perfect when that's hardly ever the case. Happy, maybe, but perfect, certainly not. Despite all that, I've decided that we could all use a little more love in our lives. And that love, all kinds of love, platonic, romantic, familial, love of nature, love of the world, is worth celebrating. This morning will be a series of snapshots, thoughts on love of all kinds, and the work that love can do in the world. The history and lore surrounding Valentine's Day is multifaceted, and like many things, there's no one true story, more likely a combination of many lives and many stories that time has muddled together. Legend has it that Valentine's Day, or the feast of Saint Valentine, was created in celebration of multiple early Christian martyrs named Valentine. The history was more bloody than loving, really, unless you only focus on the love for God or love for religion. There are accounts of the imprisonment of Saint Valentine of Rome, ministering to Christians persecuted under the Roman Empire, before Christianity itself became a tool of empire. In the 14th and 15th century, the feast day of St. Valentine became associated with the concept of courtly love, or knights in shining armor trying to woo ladies at court. And then by the 18th century, particularly in England, Valentine's Day became a time for young couples to express their love for one another through flowers, cards, and notes. And thus it has evolved into the celebration of romantic love that we know today. Our culture places a great deal of emphasis on love, but we sometimes do it in what I think is the wrong way. It feels like the world sees romantic love, love between partners, as the only kind that really matters. It's true that most people do choose to marry or to live with a partner, and part of that, I think, is because we've figured out that it's so much easier to do life with another person. You become your own little team. There's someone to help shoulder the physical and emotional burden of life. But some of this is because of the culture we've created, where we're expected to move away from our families or out of their homes and create our own new life. We're expected to do everything on our own and then find someone we want to spend our lives with. We've created such an individualistic way of living and being that the thought of love and closeness with one's community almost doesn't sound attainable. In her work, All About Love, the late Bell Hooks wrote, "Awakening to love can only happen when we let go of our culture's obsession with power and domination." Culturally, all spheres of American life, politics, religion, the workplace, domestic households, intimate relations, should and could have as their foundations a love ethic. A love ethic presupposes that everyone has a right to be free, to live fully and well. To bring a love ethic to every dimension of our lives, our society would need to embrace change. She continues, "Individuals who choose to love can and do alter our lives in ways that honor the primacy of a love ethic. We do this by choosing to work with individuals we admire and respect, by committing to give our all to relationships, by embracing a global vision in which we see our lives and our fate as intimately connected to those of everyone else on the planet. Of course, within Unitarian Universalism, I think we do have a love ethic as our foundation. We know that our lives are bound together in the snarled and messy knot that is our interconnected web. But it is also true that our larger culture has yet to come around to seeing things our way. The whole world has yet to change. Those who profit from the captivity of others would have to change. Those who benefit from underpaid labor would have to change. Those who refuse to see the humanity of those different from them would have to change. And we will always keep working toward change, but we need to meet the world as it is right now. We wonder, what can we do? We can, in the words of the poet Marge Piercy, make love that is loving. We can create the kind of love in our relationships, in our homes, in our churches, in our communities that we wish the whole world was built on. And it takes work. One of my professors once said to me when we were talking about marriage, "Some days I just want that vow to carry me, to not have to do anything else." And it's true, I've felt that way before, but that's not how it works. Love is a verb, something we actively do. It's not enough just to know that someone loves you in a relationship. We have to choose each day to be an active partner, to shoulder our part of the load and probably a little of our partners too, because there will be times when we'll need them to carry some of ours. In the words of Leslie Jameson, empathy isn't just something that happens to us, a meteor shower of synapses firing across the brain. It's also a choice we make to pay attention, to extend ourselves. It's made of exertion, that dowdier cousin of impulse. Sometimes we care for one another because we know we should or because it's asked for, but this doesn't make our caring hollow. The act of choosing simply means we've committed ourselves to a set of behaviors greater than the sum of our individual inclinations. This confession of effort chafes against the notion that empathy should always rise unbidden, that genuine means the same thing as unwilled, that intentionality is the enemy of love. But I believe in intention, and I believe in work. I believe in waking up in the middle of the night and packing our bags and leaving our worst selves for our better ones. When we have weddings, part of the ceremony is the making of vows to one another, a covenant, if you will, between two people. And usually there are witnesses at the ceremony, friends, family, maybe a minister or a justice of the peace. And the reason that there are witnesses are that people are supposed to be aware of the promises we make to one another, especially our families and friends, so they can hold us accountable. They remind us that marriage means a level of commitment so deep that a fight, that things said that we might regret, that the mundane frustrations of everyday life are not enough for us to stop trying or to stop loving one another. And marriage is also not the only way to be in a relationship or to love. Our concept of relationships is changing as more people are open about things like polyamory and other non-traditional relationship structures. The shapes relationships and love can take are shifting. As people are more comfortable being who they are, folks are realizing that relationships are whatever we want them to be. I think some have also begun to see a relationship as a commodity, something you can acquire. You either have it or you don't. You give love in order to get love. But love, real love, is not and can never be a transaction. But I've said that I believe the sacred, whatever that means to you, can be found most often in our ordinary moments. And sometimes those ordinary moments are a conversation with a friend, a kind smile from a stranger, a hug from your mother. It's almost like these kinds of love don't count as much in the eyes of public opinion as the love of a partner. When I was in middle school, my family began taking a vacation each year to the Lakes region in Maine. And there was a bookstore there called Bridgeton Books that I loved, and it had a very specific smell that now, if I smelled it, I'm sure would still take me back. It was comfortable, worn, not musty. We'd all go and get some books for our vacation, and one year I picked a book called My Life with the Saints by James Martin. Martin, if you haven't heard of him, is a Jesuit priest, a true social justice Catholic, and he is reviled by traditional Catholics who still lament the changes made by Vatican II. But in his book, he tells the story of his life and his call to the priesthood through the lives of saints and his connection to each of them. Growing up, I never knew much about Catholicism, and I didn't really understand what saints were about. But what I did know is that I was curious, and I've always been good about following my curiosity. What I found is that any kind of call, that name that we in religious life have given to that internal tug we feel, is almost always met with doubt. And love, the kind James Martin writes about, love for your neighbors, love of service, love of God, the universal love in which we are all held, that goes way, way beyond doubt. UU theologian Rebecca Parker wrote in her book, Proverbs of Ashes, "There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love." It's been put to music now. It's almost hard not to sing it. She came to this spiritual realization on her journey to heal from abuse as a young child. It is, in a word, her testimony. This kind of love, it's harder to describe or identify because it's not personified, it's not concrete. It is simply this inner knowing that refuses to let us go. People, sometimes, when they come to my office to talk, ask me what I think our purpose in life is, why I think we're here, what the meaning of all this is. And sometimes I have to laugh a little bit at the enormity of it all, the enormity of the question. This is not a job where there are a lot of easy answers, but for this question, there is. I believe and have for as long as I can remember that our purpose in this life is, in the words of Mother Teresa, to love and to let ourselves be loved. I've said before, though it bears repeating, the be loved part is the most difficult because that requires being intimately known for the best and worst of who we are. We cannot hide from love. It requires us to open ourselves to the unknown. In the words of Adrienne Marie Brown, perhaps humans' core function is love. Love leads us to observe in a much deeper way than any other emotion. We say in our affirmation that love is the doctrine of this church. I take that to mean that in a place without doctrine, the common factor at the core of this church is our commitment to love. As Thomas Merton wrote, love is our true destiny. We do not find the meaning of life by ourselves alone. We find it with another, or I might add, with others, with a community. Love, marriage, platonic love, no matter what kind of love, when you form a relationship and a connection that deep, you don't simply take your ball and go home when things get hard. That's not the commitment you made. There's a new kind of love, built on security and comfort that you can fall into when you both know that no one is going anywhere. A love built on safety, security, and mutual respect. And we know that relationships, romantic and platonic, change and end and can break down for all kinds of human reasons. But much of love is about commitment, about the choice to care, to try, over and over again. That's where we find the love that remains. In the reading we heard earlier from All About Love, Bell Hooks described her first introduction to love at church, reading 1 Corinthians and the imagery striking her as a young writer. And I chose that passage because it reminded me of my own self in a way, looking for love that sustains, love that remains. Our hymn, based on that passage in 1 Corinthians, though I may speak with bravest fire, is the one I sang at my uncle's memorial service when he passed suddenly. My heart was just absolutely broken, and I stood up there shaking, offering in his memory the only thing that I had to give, my voice. And that version of myself seems far away now as I have grown and grieved. But the texture of that memory serves to me as a reminder that across time and death and the space between the stars, love remains. May it be so. Amen. I invite us now to hum along or to listen to our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
We extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not our commitment to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. This we do because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world. Friends, as we go forth from our time together this morning, my hope for you is that you will always let love be your guide. Go in peace.